DeMello.
I'm Mclaughlin.
And we're going to be performing a piece that combines some writings and history concerning Mark Twain.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Samuel Clemens, who was born on November 30th, 1835, in Missouri, the sixth of 7 children.
At the age of 4, Sam and his family moved to the small frontier town of Hannibal, Missouri, on the banks of the Mississippi River.
Missouri at the time was a fairly new state.
It had gained statehood in 1821 and comprised part of the country's western border. It was also a slave state. Sam's father owned 1 slave and his uncle owned several.
In fact, it was on his uncle's farm that Sam spent many boyhood summers playing in the slave quarters and listening to tall tales.
In 1847, when Sam was 11, his father died. Shortly thereafter, he left school, having completed the 5th grade, to work as a printer's apprentice for a local newspaper.
Say that 5 times fast.
What? When Sam was?
No, printer's apprentice.
Oh. His job was to arrange the type of each newspaper. His job was to arrange the type of each of the newspaper stories, allowing Sam to read the news of the world as well as completing his work.
Fast forward 40 years now, and Sam is married and has 3 daughters. From 1874 to 1891, Sam spent most of his time writing.
What did he write? Well, why don't we ask him?
I started writing the famous books such as The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1884, and Life on the Mississippi, 1883. I even wrote a few poems in my day, too. I especially enjoy the poem, O Lord Our Father.
I bet you didn't know that Huckleberry Finn was also the first book published by Sam's own publishing company, the Charles L. Webster Company.
The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn opens by familiarizing us with the events of the novel that preceded it, which we know as Tom Sawyer. Both novels are set in the town of St. Petersburg, Missouri, which lies on the banks of the Mississippi River.
At the end of Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, a poor boy with a drunken bum for a father, and his friend Tom Sawyer, a middle-class boy with imagination too active for his own good, found a robber's stash of gold.
As a result of his adventure, Huck gained quite a bit of money, which the bank held for him in trust. Huck was adopted by Widow Douglas, a kind of stifling woman who lives with her sister, the self-righteous Miss Watson.
Let's listen to some of the writings in Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens' book, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
You don't know about me without you have read the book.
Grammar!
The name, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, but that ain't no matter. That book was made by Mr. Mark Twain, and he told the truth, mainly.
There were things which he stretched, but mainly he told the truth.
Use correct grammar.
That is nothing. I never seen anybody but lied one time or another without it was Aunt Polly or the widow, or maybe Mary.
Aunt Polly. Tom's Aunt Polly, she is.
And the Widow Douglas is all told about in that book, which is mostly a true book, with some stretches, as I said before.
Now the way that book winds up is this. Tom and me found the money that the robbers hid in the cave, and it made us rich.
We got $6,000 apiece, all gold.
It was an awful sight of money when it was piled up.
Awful in this sense means like good or spectacular.
Well, Judge Thatcher, he took and put it out at interest, and it fetches $1 apiece all year round. More than a body could tell what to do with.
The Widow Douglas, she took from me her son and allowed she would civilize me.
Something that you should notice, when Mark Twain wrote the word civilize, he spelt it S-I-V-I-L-I-Z-E. Just something to think about.
But it was rough living in the house all the time, considering how dismal, regular, and decent the widow was on all her ways.
And so when I couldn't stand it no longer, I lit out, got into my old rag and sugar hogshead again, and was free and satisfied.
Correct grammar use you must. But Tom Sawyer, he hunted me up and he said he was going to start a band of robbers. And I might join if I would go back to the widow and be respectable. So I did. I went back.
The widow, she cried over me and called me a poor lamb, and she called me lots of other names too. But she never meant no harm by it.
She put me in them new clothes again, and I couldn't do nothing but sweat and sweat and feel all cramped up.
Well, then, the whole thing commenced again. The widow rung a bell for supper, and you had to come to time.
When you got to the table, you couldn't go right to eating, but you had to wait for the widow to tuck down her head and grumble over the victuals, though there weren't really anything the matter with them.
This is boring. Can we please get on to the boring, the good stuff?
What? You don't like my storytelling?
No.
Okay, well, where was I?
Pretty soon I wanted to smoke, and the widow let me, but she wouldn't.
She said it was mean practice and it wasn't clean, and I must try not to do it anymore.
The law in that day let people smoke at any age they wanted to. The only people who could stop them from smoking were their parents.
Remember, kids, tobacco is wacko.
The book of Huck Finn is noted for its somewhat colorful descriptions of people and places along the Mississippi River.
It is littered with satire and entrenched attitudes, particularly racism.
Satire is just another word for making fun of, mocking something or someone.
So my book has been the continued object of study by literary critics ever since its publication. It was criticized upon release because of the coarse language and became even more controversial in the 20th century.
Because of its perceived use of racial stereotypes and because of its frequent use of the racial slur nigger, despite strong arguments of the protagonist and the tenor of the book and the novel are anti-racist.
You must remember.
Remember.
Before you get up all in arms.
The use of that word at the time was back in the time the book was written.
And that is an excuse?
Well, not really.
I also wrote Life on the Mississippi, which was published in 1883, 2 years before my book Huckleberry Finn was published.
I'm trying to find a good chapter to go to. Ah, here we go. Chapter 5.
The title of this chapter is, I Want to Be a Cub Pilot.
Months afterward, the hope within me struggled to reluctant death, and I found myself without an ambition.
But I was ashamed to go home. I was in Cincinnati, and I set to work to map out a new career.
Are you telling me he was afraid to go home after the face of his problems, even at home?
Apparently so.
He, Mark, had been reading about the recent exploration of the Amazon River by expedition set up by the government at the time.
It was said that the expedition, owing to difficulties, had not thoroughly explored a part of the country lying about the headwaters, some 4,000 miles from the mouth of the river.
It was only about 1,500 miles from Cincinnati to New Orleans, where I could doubtless get a ship.
I had $30 left, and I would go and...
Complete the exploration of the Amazon.
This was all the thought I gave about the subject.
I was never great in matters of detail.
I packed my bags and took passage on an ancient tug called...
Bow down. Are you two done? Anyway, back to the story.
For the sum of $16, he had scoured and tarnished splendors of her main saloon principally to himself, for she was not a creature to attract the eyes of wise travelers.
The she that is used in the previous line is referred to the Mississippi River, just in case you didn't.
The Mississippi.
Anyway, skipping a few pages, all here.
When we got underway and went poking around the broad Ohio, I became a new being and the subject of my own admiration.
I was a traveler.
A word had never tasted so good in Sam's mouth before.
Mark or Sam? Well, it's two in the same, two names, same person.
Would you please stop interrupting me, please?
Sorry, Sam.
Please, call me Mark.
One of Mark Twain's lesser-known writings is a poem he wrote.
Believe it or not, he was a believer in the Lord.
That's right. I was a God-fearing man.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, O Lord, our Father.
O Lord, our Father.
Our young patriots, idols of their heart.
Go forth to battle, be thou near them.
With them in spirit we also go forth.
From the sweet peace of the beloved firesides to smite the foe.
O Lord our God, help us to tear their soldiers.
To bloody shreds with our shells, help us to cover their smiling fields.
With the pale forms of their patriot dead, help us to drown the thunder of guns.
With the shrieks of their wounded writhing in pain.
Help us to lay waste the hearts and the humble wounds of the hurricane of fire.
Help us to wring the hearts of their unoffending widows with the veiling grave.
Help us to turn out them ruthless with their children to wander unfriended the wastes of their desolated
In
land.
rags and hunger and thirst sports the sun flames of summer.
And the icy winds of winter, burdened in spirit, worn with travail.
Imploring thee for the refuge of the grave, and denied it.
For our sakes who adore thee, Lord.
Bless their hopes.
Like their lives.
Protract their bitter pilgrimage.
Make heavy their steps.
Water their ways with the tears.
Stain the white snow with their blood.
On their wounded feet.
We ask in the spirit of
Of
love.
him who is the source of love.
And who is the ever faithful.
Refuge and friends of all the best, of all the sore beset. And seek his aid with the humble heart. Will we try our hearts?
Amen.
As Twain's books provide insight into the past, the events of his personal life further demonstrate that his role was an eyewitness to history.
During his lifetime, Sam Clemens watched the young United States evolve from a nation torn apart by internal conflicts to one of international power.
He experienced America's vast growth and change from westward expansion to industrialization.
As well as the end of slavery.
Advancements in technology.
Big governments and foreign wars.
And along the way, he often had something to say about the changes that were happening in his country.
Like any good journalist, Sam Clemens, a.k.a. Mark Twain, spent his life observing and reporting on his surroundings.
In his writings, he provided images of the romantic, the real, the strength and weakness of a rapidly changing world.
By examining his life and works, we can read into the past.
Piecing together various events of that area and the responses to them.
We can delve into the American mindset of the late 19th century and make our own observation of history.
Discover new connections.
Create new inferences.
And gain better insight into the time period and the people who lived in it.
As Sam once wrote,
Supposing is good, but finding out is better.